Welcome back to the Buck Up Podcast. This is the third episode with my dear friend Leo Merhaut. You can laugh if you want, Leo.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me.
Yeah, man.
Happy to be here.
Yeah. Let it out, bro. It's all right.
No, I will. But prior to this, we were talking about how everything you do is done very intensely.
Yes.
And that's already led to the beginning of this. 3, 2, 1. Hi, welcome to the Buck Up Podcast.
Yeah, I'm getting yelled at by Bethany. It's like, hey, slow down.
Take a minute here.
What'd you call me, a Bronco in the saddle or something?
A Bronc running out the gate.
A Bronc running out of the gate. That's a good explanation.
That's actually a really good
comparison.
one.
Yeah. You're a pretty intense person yourself in a different way. But
yeah, but I don't stop the middle of a conversation to announce I'm going to bed. And then I just say, I'm going to bed.
All right. Well, I don't do that, man.
No, you definitely do. Definitely do. If you ask anyone that has been in a room with you,
dude, it's just that
been
time.
in a room with you.
I actually corrected my Michigan slang, man.
Good. Yeah.
So,
I heard you making fun of Pittsburghese.
No. My dad makes fun of Pittsburghese because I go home now to Michigan sometimes. My dad's like, you sound like one of those dang Pittsburghers, man.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey.
I heard the first episode, you and Zave went out of your way to make fun of Pittsburghese.
Yeah. Well, he lives in the Mon Valley, man. Those guys are legit down there.
Bad.
Yeah.
It's
Ian's
bad.
guys is down there, you know.
Yeah, I've dabbled in some Pittsburghese, but it's really just sad because my lovely wife makes sure I feel as bad as possible about myself whenever I slip up and use Pittsburghese.
Yeah. Hey, that's good. That's a good wife.
No, it's great because we don't want our daughter talking like that. Because if my daughter ever says yins, I will be disappointed. Because she's better than that.
Yeah, she is.
She is better than that.
She is, man. Congratulations, though, by the way, man.
Thank you. Yeah. She is fat, and I love her.
How much did she weigh when she was born?
She was 7 pounds, 9 ounces.
Okay. Not as tubby as you know?
No, I was kind of a chonk. I was a very fat baby.
Yeah.
But that might have been to my disproportionately large head that has progressed with me through the rest of my life. So, here we are.
Extra large helmet in football?
Yes, actually.
Yeah,
it took a long time to get the right helmet. And the only one they had for me was a really old helmet. And so it looked... It was one of those like smooth helmets. There's nothing flattering about it.
Yeah.
And just really large on the sides. And it was terrible.
Yeah. Did you get any concussions? Like, was it a worse helmet as far as like safety grade?
Oh yeah, it was a terrible helmet.
Yeah, I believe it.
Terrible helmet. I don't know if it's allowed to be used anymore, but it was the only one that would fit my overlarge head.
Yikes.
So,
yikes.
Here we are.
Yeah, man. But for real, I just appreciate you coming on and making time. And then your babe, Fia. I hope you don't mind me saying your daughter's name.
No, not at all.
But she was born 2 weeks ago now.
2 weeks ago. February 4th.
Yeah, man.
7/14.
Yeah. So I appreciate you coming on, man, because it's just you're so busy, I'm sure, and you've been kind of introduced to the parent life and staying up all night. And I think I went over because Fia's. I'm gonna shout this out because I love that girl so much, but I'm her goddaughter. So
No, you're not.
Yes, I am.
No, you're her godfather.
Or crap. Shit.
I gotta say, she is a very spiritually mature kid. 24 years prior to her being born, she was named your godfather.
I hate you. Oh man, we have to cut that out. That's pretty.
No. I don't think that should get cut out.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk to the producer. I think Bethany appreciates that.
No, I think Bethany's on my side here.
Yeah. Unfortunately,
it's just a lovely dose of humility.
Yeah. And it's funny because like I think people talk about this all the time. We get in pretty intense conversations, and then we never admit that we're wrong. And then you have people like who are sitting next to us are like, "You guys got to stop." You know?
Yeah. Well, that's because people don't enjoy confrontation the way we do.
Yeah.
Where we will go out of our way to find a disagreement.
Yeah, yes.
Even if it's something as stupid as Jeeps, which suck.
No, yeah. I'm not going to get into that with you, but
no.
Hey, but the silver bullet, man, all right? That thing.
No, that thing's magnificent.
That thing is that's all I care about. If you can admit that.
No, that is the one Jeep that is good.
Yeah. 252,000 miles or something on it. Nothing
Everything
done.
Is stock still?
Yeah, everything's stock, man.
That's absurd.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will say, though, Jeep isn't good. Jeep's not great.
I think their newer cars are not that good, to be honest. I think that like the older Jeeps,
The last time they were a good car was the good old Blitzkrieg buggy, made in Butler, Pennsylvania.
Really?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
yeah, that's where the Jeep was invented.
That makes sense considering all the steel that was pumped out in
Yeah.
Pittsburgh during
Yeah.
that time. I mean, they had mills all up and down the river.
Oh yeah, no,
so-
they're still sitting on the Butler River, like the river by Butler,
yeah.
which is, I believe, the third most polluted waterway in the United States.
Sad, man. Can you
Yeah, it's
imagine those
terrible.
rivers like way back when like, you know, like it was just the Indian territories, man? Like that would have been so beautiful to go into and swim. Now you swim in it, you're going to get like E. coli or something. But-
Yeah, no, E.
people
coli is a
still
little
do
too
swim in
friendly.
it. Yeah.
You're going to start growing extra limbs if you go
Yeah,
swimming in those
yeah.
rivers. But I remember like driving past them, and you just see this weird orange film from whatever's in there.
Ugh. Probably some massive catfish though. I would fish in the rivers for
Yeah,
sure.
you would die if you ate it.
Yeah. Yeah, or turn into Superman or something.
Nope,
but-
you just die. No, I promise.
Yeah, I believe it. I believe it. I promise. Sound like you know something.
What about it?
Nothing, man. Nothing. All right.
Anyways,
I don't want to get into that. All right. That's,
No.
We don't want to get any court
listen,
cases.
we
or-
don't need to know anything about Todd the catfish.
Okay. Now I want to know Todd the catfish.
I just made him up.
Oh.
He's not real.
All right.
I just thought it'd be funny to name a catfish Todd.
that's a great name. I will never name my child Todd now. Sorry. Shout out to all the
Oh,
Todds
were
out
you
there.
planning on?
Not anymore.
Oh, so you were. Okay.
Yeah, man. I think when I was thinking about having you on, I think the topic for this episode, honestly, was just God's faithfulness, especially within your life, like how beautiful God has been faithfully, like just interjecting into your life at all moments. Especially, I've known you for how long? 5 years now. Maybe
4 or
6.
5 years.
Yeah. But it's just every time you've shared your story, I'm just like, wow, the Lord has been so faithful to you and,
Yeah.
and faithful to your wife and your family and just even through you guys dating, it was just a beautiful testament to God's faithfulness. So
Yeah.
that's kind of what I want to title the episode. But
Yeah, definitely. I would love to dive into that a little bit.
yeah. Where do you want to start?
Oh, I have no idea. You can start anywhere.
Okay.
And
So what about
any part
usually
of
this
life.
is usually the format where I go with starting like when you were younger and then going into the current.
Sure.
If you're okay with that. But,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So talk to me a little bit about what your childhood was like growing up, and maybe share your testimony with that, and and everything between, and we can kind of get into little particularities as we go.
Yeah, absolutely. I come from a big Catholic family. I was one of 10 kids, and it was lovely for a little while. I was the fifth child in the family. I've 2 older brothers, 2 older sisters, and I only.
You know what I just noticed? We forgot to pray. So why don't we pray?
Let's do that.
Is that okay with you?
No. What are you, Catholic?
I just interrupted you, so I'm like, hey, we got to pray.
What
Are you Catholic?
am I supposed to be?
No. I mean, all right, let's pray. Father, Son, Holy Spirit, amen. Come, Holy Spirit. Come, Holy Spirit. Fill our hearts with your love and your peace. Holy Spirit, I ask that you just bless this room. You bless my brother Leo. You bless this podcast. Jesus, I ask that you just come into our presence right now and teach us how to talk, teach us how to pray, teach us how to speak your word and your truth, so that it might deepen our understanding of your will and give you honor and glory. And we ask for all of these things through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen.
I just got into it, man. We were already arguing too much, and then we forgot to pray. So
That's about on par with
yeah, that's usually on par.
pretty standard
So
interaction.
yeah, grew up in a big family, one of 10.
Yeah.
What was that like growing up?
So it was actually just a beautiful thing to have so many people around you, where everyone has their own unique personality, perspective, and feelings on everything. Especially when every single one of you can't stand each other most of the time,
Yeah, as big families usually
as
do.
big
Yeah.
families are.
So how many brothers and sisters?
It's 5 and 5.
Okay.
So I have 4 brothers, 5 sisters, and I am the 5th boy. So it's a nice even split down the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Down the middle. Pardon me. Yeah, and it was really neat growing
Yeah.
up in a big family, but it wasn't necessarily something that I have a very healthy perspective on. And then, as you know, and a lot of people around me know, I did have a really troubled relationship with my family, where my mom got diagnosed with multiple sclerosis whenever I was 8 or 9. And it really went downhill from there because her capability is like mentally, her capability as a parent started slipping in a really big way. But then she kept having more kids, and she would use that as a reason to like lash out at the older kids. Maybe if there was a lack of maturity, which absolutely I had a lack of maturity.
Sure, yeah.
I still do. But it was a definitely a troubled childhood. But all of it led me to, where I am now. And there's not a single regret from anything I've ever experienced from my childhood, whether that be the arguments or the, altercations that might have taken place between me and my family. But in that, I was raised Catholic, but I would say that my perspective on that when I was a kid wasn't very good, because they were using Catholicism as like hey, if you don't listen to me, you're going to go to hell. That's not true.
Yeah.
Just a public service announcement to to any 6-year-olds that are listening to this. You cannot listen to your parents sometimes, and you probably won't go to hell over that one.
Yeah.
It's going to be something else that does it if you end up there.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah, that's tough to hear as a 6-year-old, though.
It was a lot.
Even any age, like especially adolescent age.
No, if someone told me to go to hell now, or like I was going to go to hell, I'd be like, no.
Yeah.
Please. Yeah. I really don't want to.
Yeah. But I'm sure you have. I mean, all that has led you, again, because of God's faithfulness, into just a deeper understanding, I think, of His will for your life, and just the maturity in your end.
Maybe, but it definitely didn't for a long time.
Yeah,
It definitely pushed me away from having like any type of faith, any type of relationship with God. Yeah, it was. I remember. I think I was 8 or 9 years old. My mom was like, clean up your desk, because I was homeschooled. And I was like, no, I won't.
As any young 8-year-old, 9-year-old.
As children do.
Yeah.
I could have cleaned it up. I make messes everywhere I go, and I don't always clean them up. It's a problem. I try my best. And she was like, well, I just wanted to ask, do you like when it's warm? I said, yeah, actually I do. And she goes, you're going to love it in hell. And I was like, oh my gosh.
Oh, jeez, man.
And that's one of my more distinct memories of where I started to be like, hey, like, there could not possibly be a God if this is what it is to believe in Him.
How was your perception of belief during that time, though, because of what
my perception of belief was like, I'm going to church and I'm hearing of this good God, of this loving Father, of like Jesus who has died for our sins. But then I go home and I'm not hearing about like a good or loving Father. I'm like, hey, if you don't clean your desk, you're going to suffer for all of eternity, and you deserve it. So I didn't have a real picture of what it was to have a faith, because the God that I was asked to be faithful to was a God that was asking me to suffer at the hands of my parents, and in my own life with everything I was doing. Everything I did was wrong or wasn't enough.
You thought that's how God was looking at you in that time? Yeah.
In my eyes, or in my perception of what God was, it was like, wherever I go, whatever I do, it's not enough. And I'm just letting Him down. I'm letting my mom down. I'm letting my dad down. I'm a failure as a brother and as a son. So I really didn't have a real faith. My faith was, it's weird to say, but I was a devout atheist that was going to Mass when I was like 7 or 8 years old for a while, because I would get brought to Mass and I wouldn't want to be there, because realistically a lot of kids don't want to go to mass.
Yeah, I think it's
For me, I was
boring.
like, I have to sit still for an hour. I can't sit still for 3 minutes. And it's listening to someone talk about something I don't believe in, with music that was not good, in a pew that was terrible to sit in. Wasn't great.
Yeah, it wasn't
going
very
to mass. So
yeah.
I was definitely not the best Catholic growing up.
Yeah.
And maybe no one is, but
Yeah, but especially at 8 years old, it's like, you're
that
just,
probably went on until I was about 15, 16.
yeah. But it's just an experience it was just you experiencing the reality of your situation. And then obviously, I think with what your parents were saying to you, they're your parents, like you're going to believe, I think, a lot of what they're saying when
Sure.
you're young.
Sure.
I don't know how your experience was in that. Like, did you believe your mom when she said that to you? Like,
So I definitely had, like, there was that seed planted with
Sure.
everything your parents say from your perspective as a kid. That is your whole world. I was a homeschooled kid. I didn't have relationships with a lot of people outside of like my family or when I would swim, because I was on a swim team. It was horrible.
you are a very good swimmer, though.
Back in the day,
Yeah.
too fat now. It is what it is.
Too many Sam Adams,
There's no such thing.
Not now there is, but
No.
or now there isn't.
There's
But
no such thing as too many Sam Adams.
Yeah.
It just depends on the frequency at which you're ingesting them. Yeah.
yeah, well,
I forget where we were going with this.
Well, no, you were just talking about how. Sorry, I brought up the Sam Adams. But
No, I'm-
we're start talking about beer. It's like, whoa, we get off topic.
Nothing is easy to focus on once there's a.
You want to open?
Yeah, no,
Okay,
I was
let's do
just reaching. Cheers.
Cheers, buddy. Thank you for bringing these.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, I
Thank you
appreciate
for letting me bring these.
Yeah, cold snap.
Sorry, Bethany.
Yeah, we didn't
I
bring
should
one
have
for
brought
the
you this
producer.
wonderful beer.
She's got her Clementines out there, so
I thought those were to throw at Max. Okay, good. Yeah, I was worried.
yeah.
Okay, yeah. So you have one to eat, three to throw? Okay.
No, but you were going into how I was asking you how your parents' perspectives on the faith and what maybe their
Yeah.
wounds were,
Yeah.
and then them projecting maybe their wounds onto you, and then what
Yeah.
you believed within that.
Yes, yeah. So I don't necessarily understand what their wounds were. I don't know
Yeah.
where they've come from a lot of that. I mean, my dad was raised in this wonderful Catholic family, the Merhaut family.
Yeah, it's a
who-
big name in Pittsburgh.
A lot of Pittsburgh knows them because they sell the church supplies to most of the churches in the area. Just very reputable people whom I'm really blessed to be able to interact with. Like,
Yeah.
every time I do, it's like a badge of honor for me to like share that name. I don't live up to it in anything I do, but it's really just wonderful to be recognized as a part of that family that has like this community bond.
That's your dad's brother who owns that store? Or?
Yeah, him and his brothers did for a while, but then he left the business, and yeah, now it's just my Uncle Tom, my Uncle Matt, my Aunt Teresa, and they do wonderful work.
Yeah.
They're just amazing people.
Yeah, I mean, I always hear so many good things coming out of like the Merhaut religious good store is great. I mean, they just I was looking through your catalog. It was like you guys got everything in there.
Yeah,
like everything
they
you could think
really
of.
have everything. They're just
Yeah.
they're the best people you could ever.
Yeah, they are good people.
This is brought to you by AT Merhaut. No,
No, shout out to AT Merhaut. I mean, if you're listening to this in Pittsburgh, you know what we're talking about already. But,
yeah. Oh, you absolutely know. what we're
So,
talking
how was
about.
your relationship with your dad growing up?
I actually did have a really good relationship with my dad. He was the person I looked up to most in the whole world. Whenever I was really little, if something was going wrong, like if things were falling apart, a lot of kids, like I was never a mama's boy. But I would always be looking for my dad because he was a really big source of support for those really silly things. It was like, oh my gosh, I have growing pains and I am having a mental collapse. I don't know how to handle this and this. And I would just like look for my dad because there was so much comfort, even if he wasn't super affectionate as a father, which like he was a reasonably like loving, open, affectionate father for a while. But he just had this like stability to him where if my mom maybe was going a little bit crazy about something, he would always have like his boundaries set
Yeah.
about where he would go with something. And that was something that I learned to respect at a very early age that crumbled over time as things went downhill for my mom. He lost, honestly, he lost his character, the person that I knew, the person that his siblings knew. It was really someone that I would say died. I was probably about 14 when he notably stopped being the person that I respected. And I still have respect for him as my father, and I do pray that they both come back to God one day. I mean, they've since left the church. I don't have a relationship with them as much as I would like to, but every time I have reached out, it's ended poorly. I've said things that I shouldn't have said to them. Because, I mean, I have my weaknesses as a person. And I do let myself down in those situations, but until the Lord sees fit, I haven't seen them for a little bit.
Yeah.
But one day I will.
Yeah. And that's a beautiful testament, though, to like you just like all I can do maybe is just pray at this moment, just pray for them and reach out whenever I feel like I should reach out. But I mean, I think that's I'm sorry that you had to go through that, man.
No, I'm not.
It is. But I mean, as you said, like it was challenging, but there are no you just don't have any regrets.
This is by far the greatest blessing I have ever and will ever live. Because I was taken in by my Aunt Gemma. I sometimes refer to her as my Aunt Mama because she adopted me.
At what age?
At 17. So I got kicked out of the house. Actually, when I was 14, me and my dad both got kicked out, and me and him lived in an apartment out in Butler. Out in Butler, pardon me, Pittsburgh East sucks. And it was just this whole power trip by my mom where she kicked him out to like break his spirit when he would stand up to her for requests that weren't fair to the kids. And she kicked him out of the house and blamed me for that. She said that I was putting a strain on their marriage, that they were going to get divorced, and it was my fault because I was a trouble child. I absolutely was. There's no situation in which a child is genuinely the end of a marriage.
Yeah.
Because if it's something as simple as a rambunctious child, the bond of marriage wasn't taken seriously enough, and I can say that from the bottom of my heart because nothing anyone could ever do would change my relationship with my wife. It's what I do and what she does and the way that we give ourselves. So I would say that it was a really damaged perspective on marriage, faithfulness, and like goodness that they left me with.
Yeah. And that's when you moved out to your Aunt Gemma's?
That's, well, then we got brought back shortly after. And
okay, after you and your dad moved out. Okay.
Yeah, a few years passed. And there was a big blowout fight with me, one of my brothers, one of my sisters, and my parents. And we all left the house that night because we were just like, we're just going to cool off. One of my other brothers took us in, him and his wife, my sister-in-law, who are wonderful people. They took us in for the evening, and the idea was like, we're just going to cool down. My other two siblings that had left went back the next day, but I had been having a really troubled time with my parents for a while, where there was a lot of stuff behind closed doors that was happening that like specifics aren't important, but it was ugly. So I was taking a few extra days. Pardon me.
You're good. You're good. You're good.
So I think it was 2 extra days, and I was sitting on the couch with my sister-in-law because my brother had he was coming home from work when we got a phone call from my dad, and they said, "Hey, this is what Leo wants, but we are legally emancipating ourselves from you. We have nothing to do with you from here. You can do whatever you want. We do not care. Just don't come back." That was a bottom three moment in my life for sure. Because even then, you immediately blame yourself as a kid. Because the people that are raising you, like, I might not have gotten along with them a lot of the time. I might have had a lot of troubles with them. But they were right in my eyes still. When they said that, I was like, what did I do? Like, where did I go wrong? What could I have done better?
Which is a natural response too, I feel like when stuff like that happens and you're a kid, it's like, no, these are my parents. You know, like they gotta be right. They gotta have some sort of like reason, you know. Yeah. I'm sorry, man. That's really tough.
Yeah, no, it's
And I know
wasn't great.
Yeah, and I know this story obviously, but it's so much. It's just to hear these things again, and obviously with the lens of God's faithfulness around this situation.
Absolutely.
Because I see you. Obviously, I didn't know you back then, but I know you now, and it's like, whoa, you know, this guy.
I'm a little different than I once was.
Yeah, but it's beautiful, man.
And
It's so
that is, like,
transformative.
credited to the faithfulness of God that like I didn't care about when I was in that situation. Like I was going to youth group. I had friends in youth group, and it's like I had this show I would put on. It was like, yes, I am Catholic, and I was like, no, actually, I wasn't. I was attending Catholic mass sometimes. I was believing none of the Catholic like theologies or ideologies or anything that is offered by the church. I was like, hey, here's all these beautiful things. I'd be like, cool, I don't care.
Yeah.
And when that happened, I was like, all right, well, this is a great reason to step away from all of that. Now I have an excuse that looks like a reason to like push behind all of this stuff that I don't necessarily believe in. That like I have this like belief, but there's nothing sincere about it.
And that was all around before you got adopted by your Aunt Gemma, correct?
That's when I was right about to turn 17.
Gotcha.
And then my Aunt Gemma took me in.
And you were in high school at this point? You weren't homeschooled?
I was a junior in high school,
Yeah.
and I transferred to Pine Richland. So great. Wonderful school.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
It's not my favorite place. I didn't care for school much, to be fair. Yeah, and I was living with my Aunt Gemma for a little while, and one of my youth group buddies, and this is where I'm starting to touch on like God's faithfulness.
Yeah.
Where I the first time I was like, oh, this might be real. There might be something here. It was, but an old friend of mine, Cullen Barnes, he's just a wonderful guy. He's a missionary in Colorado now. Actually, he might be in Philadelphia. I'm not actually sure. But he called me and he was like, hey, me and a buddy are going to go see the new Star Wars movie. And I was like, I already saw it. And he goes, all right, well, I'm picking you up and we're going to go see the new Star Wars movie. I was like, all right, whatever.
Yeah.
And so he came by my Aunt Gemma's house and he picked me up and he was like, hey, I haven't seen you in like 3 months. I just wanted to check in. Like, I know things are not going well.
Yeah.
Like, what's going on? And I was like, nothing, doing good, just hanging out. And he was like, yeah, that's great. He's like, all right, well, I'm going to take you to youth group again on Sunday. And I was like, I'm good.
Yeah, I'm not going. Yeah,
I was like, yeah, I'm good. And he was like, all right. So we went, we saw what was it? The seventh episode,
Yeah.
the 7th episode, which is the only good one in the new trilogy.
Which one was that again? Was that like the introduction of Rey?
That was the introduction of Rey.
Yeah, okay. That was a good one. Yeah.
That was a great movie. And it was setting up so much that was untouched.
I know.
And just, it was ruined in the next two.
I know.
In a spectacular way.
So sad, man.
George Lucas. I'm not mad. I'm disappointed.
Yeah, well, he didn't, correct me if I'm wrong, Bethany, but he didn't direct.
No, I don't think he did.
He directed the last one, but by the time he directed the last one,
no, it was cooked.
It was cooked, yeah.
It was cooked.
Yeah. Palpatine's like resurrected, like
Unlimited power.
that was so strange, man. Just like, come on.
They just reused
I know.
the previous story. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
The first movie was really good, and we were going back after the movie, and Cullen was like, yeah, so I'm gonna be back here on Sunday, and I'm gonna pick you up, and I was like, no. He was like, all right. So then he showed up on Sunday, and he was like, hey, we're going to youth group, and I couldn't even tell you what happened that evening, but I was like, but he took me, whether or not I wanted to be there. And he was like, hey, I think it's just important for you to like return to God, like not only in a spiritual way, but in a physical way. You just have to come back, and I don't care if you want to be here. I'm going to show up every Sunday, and I'm going to bring you here because this is where you need to be. And I was like, no, it's not. And he's like, yes, it is. So I ended up there every Sunday. It's not every day that someone is more efficiently stubborn than me.
Yeah, that's a grace of God, man. Because I mean, I get it. Like if you're like set in your ways, I'm like, I get it. You're just like, especially when it's out of a place of woundedness, or just like, frankly, you're being honest. You're just like, I don't believe in this stuff.
No,
you know?
I was in my mind at the time. I was wasting my time,
Yeah.
and he was wasting his time, and everyone who was going there was wasting their time. And he was like, but guess what? We're not wasting our time. And I was like, whatever. So eventually, like he started bringing me back, and like it was this really beautiful encounter that I got to have there, because like there was these other people that were going through their own woundedness, and as I was like returning to just like the physical presence of God, like through the adoration that we would have in youth group, there's that little seed planted again. It was just like I was like, oh, maybe there is something here.
Do you remember a moment where kind of something struck you and kind of a seed was planted, or you just kind of gradually were like, okay, maybe
it was like,
I'll try this out again?
The seed that was planted was whenever he was like, yeah, you're going to be there. And I was like, no, I'm not. He was like, yes, you are. And then someone being more stubborn than me, which is rare, and doing something for me that I don't want done for me, that is just for my betterment in every way.
Yeah.
That was where I was like, oh, this is a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
But it wasn't wonderful at the time. At the time, I was like, you're such a dick.
Yeah.
I can't stand you.
Yeah. Like, get out of my face. Let me be, you know.
But he was just there. And that was one of the first glimpses of the faithfulness of God in my life. That I recognized in the moment, because like obviously I could look back on 1,000 instances when I was a kid. It was like, hey, like had this gone slightly differently, I wouldn't be here right now. There's that, but I am, and that was the first time that someone genuinely showed me. I was like, hey, like God is faithful to you, not in the ways you might expect. But at the end of the day, like you are given the opportunity to return to Him, because you might not have a single good day in your whole life, but the faithfulness of God is present in giving you the opportunity to return to Him in that. So that way, the days that are so short, like we don't have a lot of time here, but the days that are so short, like you get to return to God, to share an eternity with God, in the love of God. And it makes everything that we experience today, tomorrow, or through the rest of our lives just like really, really meaningless.
Like, what do you mean? Like, just like that returning to God. Sorry, go ahead and explain. But
yeah, no, like what you do is very important. How you portray yourself, how you interact with people, how you treat people is like really important. Because that's what leads you to choosing God at the end of your life. All the stuff in between isn't so important. You know, there's only one choice to make, and that is like, am I genuinely going to be following God in what I'm doing? Yeah. Because, I mean, Brian Hartle, great guy. I used to work with him. He was my boss, and he is crazy. But he's a wonderful man.
Wonderful man.
I was talking to him once, and we were talking about like what our belief is on death and like what it means to like follow Jesus. And we were talking about something. I said something that's probably really stupid, and he goes, "Yeah, all I do is love God and love Jesus." And I was like, "That's not enough." And he was like, "Well, do you genuinely love anybody then?" And I was like,
Dang.
"What? What do you mean? I was like, what do you mean by that?" And
Dang.
he goes, "Because I can say like very sincerely that I love Jesus very much, and because I love Jesus very much, everything I do is to honor him. Is because if you genuinely love someone, you're not going to do something to hurt them, and if you do, you're going to go back around to try to reconcile or like make things better or whole again." And I was like, "Oh, maybe I don't know what love is."
Wow. Yeah, that was when you worked. That was
That was with
You were
HMK.
HMK,
Whenever
yeah.
I was working in construction, it was a time. I have a great many scars from it. Very literally, like emotionally, it was great. Very healthy work environment.
Yeah.
I just got hurt.
yeah.
But we would have these conversations often, and everything Brian was saying was just like, "Hey, do you actually love Jesus? Because if you do, everything else follows suit with that, because you're going to be finding the ultimate truth. Where like you still have to look into things. You might still have questions, but you are going to be making a much more sincere effort if you can say like, hey, like I genuinely, with my whole heart, soul, and body, like I do love you very much, Jesus."
Yeah. And like letting that love kind of guide you throughout every other decision you're saying, and like even throughout your life and the pain that you suffered like in adolescence. And honestly, maybe even just like throughout, like even until you met Victoria. Like it's just like,
Oh yeah.
yeah, I'm sure like, was that a choice you had to make every day? Like waking up and like, man, I gotta love God today. And
Yeah.
I gotta choose that tomorrow and the next day. Like,
Yeah.
what was,
So I had actually known Victoria by the time I started working at HMK.
how old were you around then?
When I was at HMK, I think I was 20.
Okay.
But I met Victoria. We started dating when I was 18. But it reoriented everything I was doing in my life
When you met her?
when I met her. And then again, whenever Brian just asked me like that very real question of like, "Do you love Jesus?" Because you're overthinking a lot of what this is. Because like the faithfulness of God isn't changing. Like the love of Christ isn't different, but your reaction to it is what can't change. So that was, oh, Brian.
He owns Abba's house, right? That's
Yeah,
Steve's
he runs
dad.
Abba's house. It's
Yeah.
Steve's. Yeah.
Yeah.
Shout out Abba's house.
Yeah.
Great place.
It is a great place,
It's
man.
really neat.
What do they do? What's their whole mission?
Just a safe place to be. It's not. There's not a lot of preaching that goes on, which I think is wonderful. There's events that can happen there, but their mission is just to like be a safe place. Like it's the Father's house. It's where you can return for comfort. You can just go there and study if you want. You can go play games there if you want.
Yeah, they got a nice pool table.
You can do whatever. But it's just like a safe place to go. You can just return to the Father's house.
And do you think that perspective from Brian was really like, that's kind of like, he wasn't trying to preach at you, he wasn't trying to convince you of anything, he was just like, Leo, I love Jesus, do you love Jesus? Do you think the simplicity of that statement was actually what led you to kind of start to think about what that means? Or because I think when people are wounded in a certain area and they're trying to figure out what they believe, someone preaching their beliefs at that wounded person is really unattractive. It's just kind of like, I'm not you,
Yeah.
and I want to figure this out on my own speed, and I don't want to be forced into belief. I want to almost, like, love starts everything, I think.
Yeah.
Like you were saying, love starts that track towards belief, but an experience of God's love is one of the most powerful things, if not the most powerful thing that actually sparks that belief, I think.
Yeah, yeah. I think the reason that resonated so deeply with me is because I'm really dumb. And it was
I don't
in
think
terms
that's true, but
it was in terms simple enough for me to be like, oh shit, all right. Pardon my French.
Yeah.
All right, yeah.
Mansplaining at its best.
Maybe
man.
I'm trying to be intelligent when I'm really not. Like, I have very little to offer to anything I do. But I'm able to do things because it really is simple at the end of the day. As one of those things like, hey, is this a way to show Jesus that I love him? Yeah. So, thanks, Brian Hartle.
Yeah.
I don't know if you even remember this conversation.
Shout out to Brian Hartle.
shout out,
I'm
Brian.
going to send this to Father Levi and have him send it to Brian and Steve. Yeah. So Father Levi and Steve are the sons of Brian Hartle.
Yeah.
And Brian was helping Steve's company, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
That's how it
Brian
goes.
did construction everywhere and forever. This is an age joke. I'm sorry, Brian. Steve started his own company with a couple other guys. Brian helped out with it for a little while, and I think they both moved on from doing that now.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
But yeah, that was a transformative
Seriously.
conversation to have with Brian.
Yeah. So simple too.
It's so simple, and it's very silly because there's so much complexity to like faith and theology and all of these things
Sure.
that I will never understand and I never could understand. But it does boil down to one thing, and it always has, is like love and like returning to God's love that has never left you. It's a two-way street.
Yeah.
And don't leave it with one side working.
Yeah, and I think that opens the door up to like that faithfulness conversation too, because, and something I do want to get into as well is obviously this podcast is centered around revival of authentic masculinity, and I think I'm sure you learned so many beautiful things from your father, especially before he kind of went off the deep end a little bit, but like, do you have another like role model as far as like where you kind of learned to be? Because I think you're one of the best men I know, to be totally honest.
You should meet more men.
Oh man, but no, for real, that is a genuine.
I would say there are two guys that really have helped form me, and one of them was my Aunt Gemma's husband, my Uncle Hank. He took
I've
me
met
in as
him
well.
before, right?
And
yeah, a couple times.
Oh, you know if you've met him, because he is wild.
Yes,
He is one of the greatest people that has ever and will ever live. I mean that sincerely.
yeah,
But whenever they took me in, he took it like very personally to like show me the ropes of what it is to be a man. And there's a lot of things that he does that I do very differently. But what he was showing me was like, hey, like where you're letting yourself down right here is like, you're letting yourself down by doing these things. And like, that's tough for the people that love you. That's tough for me. That's tough for Aunt Gemma. That's tough for everyone that's trying to take care of you. That you have to address your weaknesses. And that was something he was very, very big on, is like, hey, like you're failing right now. And like, sometimes that was really tough to hear, because I was like, I'm just a kid.
Yeah.
My parents did not like me very much. Everything sucks. And he'd be like, hey, guess what? It's going to suck more. It was like, this sucks. It can get better. It's not going to be good.
Yeah, calling you out of that, you know.
And he was very direct, annoyingly direct, with where I had my weaknesses. And that was something that helped me start to question where I needed formed. And there's all these little, like, this is very sporadic. I apologize.
No,
Everything
it's okay.
I do is sporadic.
It's okay. Yeah.
But there was all these like little things throughout my life that led to like one moment where I was like, oh yeah, no, like I see the faithfulness of God, and I can actually try to live into that. Which was honestly like the clicking point was Brian Hartle. Sorry, backpedaling a little.
No, it's okay. It's totally fine, man. So you moved in with Aunt Gemma.
Yeah.
Then you started working at HMK around 20. Meanwhile, your Aunt Gemma and your uncle Hank were kind of forming you and really loving you well.
Yeah,
or at least just giving you opportunities to grow.
They gave me an opportunity to just be a kid again.
Yeah.
You know, like I wasn't allowed to play football at my parents' house, and they said it was because of injuries, and that's fine. I respect that. But that was the only thing I ever wanted to do. So when they took me in, I was like, I want to play football. They're like, go for it. I was like, really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Am I allowed to do that? I'm like, yeah, go for it. I mean, what's the worst that happens? The worst that happens is you sit on the bench and you suck. And I did.
You also went to a really big school, though.
Yeah. No, I went to a big school, really competitive football program, and I had nothing to offer. I could have gone to the smallest school in the area, and I might have stayed on the bench still. You know, I was too late, and I wasn't working hard to get there. But they were just giving me these opportunities. They were like, hey, do you want to do that? Like, because you can. You're allowed to enjoy these little things that you might not have before. And they were like making sure to form me through that by like giving me opportunity to keep moving forward and things that I might have found interesting or good. But like having like this very real approach to it, where like if I wasn't doing my homework, it was like, hey, like there are actually consequences still.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which I did not do my homework. There were consequences, and it wasn't ever from a place of like bad. It was like, no, like you need to want to be better, and if you wanting to be better means you wanting to play on the Xbox, like you're not playing on the Xbox until you want to be better.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
yeah, maturation of that desire to be better, not just for yourself, but the people who they know. Like for Victoria, like it's not like I'm sure your aunt, your uncle knew the potential of like the masculinity and the beautiful call that your life was in the moment and will be. But that's a grace, I think, too, that they just challenged you in that way. It's like, hey, can you imagine like thinking that back then, like you're going to have a daughter, you're going to marry an awesome woman, like all these things. It just, then they're preparing you for that slowly, but surely, you know?
And it was a slow process.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I mean, I was AWOL for a while, just like absolutely crazy. I never did anything that was genuinely crazy, but I was just kind of the obnoxious high school boy that was just there. I had nothing that I was genuinely doing that was of meaning. Like the most meaningful thing I would do would be go to football practice and make fun of someone for 4 hours straight. And I was not doing anything important. But they started challenging me to like have a degree of accountability to what I wanted to be. And I didn't know what I wanted to be.
That's what I was about to ask. Did you have any idea what you wanted to be?
I did want to be a priest. I was going to be a priest, and I had discerned I was going to be a priest. And I went on this mission trip because I was going to be a priest.
For the Byzantine, right? Is that
No, this was Roman Catholic.
Okay, I knew you did have some Byzantine
I was Byzantine for a little bit. I am no longer Byzantine. I'm still sort of Byzantine. It's confusing.
So yeah, I kind of wanted to get into this story of you meeting Victoria, though, because that's a big turning point, I think, in your life as well.
Yeah, it is. Obviously, it is the turning point to everything going to where I am right now. It's like with a little daughter that is probably at home being an absolute menace, but she's just so perfect. And, you know, she can never do any wrong in my eyes. And she will do wrong, and I'll have to be like, hey, don't do that. And trying to just be like a loving father. It's like, hey, I'm not mad. I'm not disappointed. I'm not upset. I just want you to know who you can be. And that's where I want to come from as a father, because I already see this little person who makes eye contact with me as she craps her pants. And every time I change her diaper, she'll pee on my hand. But you can already see the potential of like this little person who's going to have to like find this relationship with God the Father. And she's already so much closer than I ever will be. And I'm hoping to be able to guide her to that just by being an okay dad. You know, I'll never be a good enough father. I'll never do everything right. I'm going to let her down. I let Victoria down every day. And she deserves so much more. But I am doing my best.
Yeah.
Most of the time.
Yeah. Except when I come over and we argue about something, and then Victoria's like, all right, come on. She's so patient, though, man. It's, like, funny. She's like, I'm like, Victoria, just kick me out of your house whenever you want. But...
You and Joe Fritch get me in more trouble than anyone.
Oh, yeah, I know. I know.
It's not, you guys don't do anything. But you just bring out this funny side of me that is only present with you, Joe, Pat.
Mm-hmm. Hey.
And it gets me in trouble.
That's what we're here for.
Yeah, nice healthy dose of humility.
Yes.
It's like I could do everything right in a day. And I'll spend 5 minutes with you guys and I'll just be a buffoon. She'll be like, Leo, you're really stupid. And I'm like, I know. You're right. I'm sorry. That's my fault.
She doesn't say it like that, though.
No, it's so much nicer. Yeah. It would make sense though if she just called me stupid. It really would.
That.
No, it would make sense. She does not do that. She doesn't. She's the kindest, gentlest person that has ever and will ever live. Mm-hmm. But I deserve to be called stupid because I am.
No, it's just me and Joe that get you in trouble. Let's be honest. That's nothing to do with you.
Yeah, if I let it be you two that get me in trouble, two of the mellowest, holiest, kindest people I know, you're not the problem.
Yeah.
I always have been.
You think I'm mellow?
Yeah, I revoked that one.
Yeah,
There's
revoked
nothing about you is mellow. Everything you do is done
Joe's
with
very
intensity.
mellow.
Joe is very mellow.
Yeah, which is
concerningly mellow.
Yeah. Concerningly mellow. No, he's just super adaptable.
Have you ever
man.
tried to order food with Joe?
Dude. Yeah.
It's
sometimes
the worst.
so Joe's my roommate.
Yeah.
Obviously you know that, but sometimes I'll be like, Joe, I don't want to make a decision, man. You got to make a decision. I'm like, I feel like I'm just kind of running you over. I'm like, please, like whatever you want to do, we'll do it. And he's like, well, I don't care. And I'm like, come on.
Yeah.
Like, come
It
on,
drives
man.
me crazy.
No, but it's actually, I think it's a gift in some ways that he's super adaptable because it just, he has so much patience where I lack in patience, man.
Yeah.
I'm like, Joe, I need some of that patience, brother.
Yeah.
But-
No, he is so patient and he is so good. Mm-hmm. I lived with him for a year as well.
Yeah.
And it was me, him, and Patrick lived together. And Pat is very similar. So
Pat's also very mellow. Yeah.
very mellow. We'd be like, let's order pizza. And we would set on pizza. That was fine. It'd be like a 3-hour process to decide where we were getting pizza from. There was like 2 places to pick from.
Oh my gosh.
And I'd be like, guys.
How did you suffer that for 3 hours, man? I feel like you would just be like,
I would walk away and it would still be a conversation when I came back. It's just, granted, sure, I could have made the decision. But in my mind, I was like, I'm not trying to steamroll you.
yeah. Sometimes you just got to stop and let them make it, you know? But sometimes you don't. Most
It just
of the time
didn't happen. It just didn't happen. And that was fine.
Yeah.
It was totally fine.
Yeah. But getting back to the kind of your vocation story with Victoria. So you said you were on a retreat to discern priesthood. Walk me through that a little bit.
So this is a very confusing timeline because I have not stuck with a linear timeline. It's gone forward, then backward, like 7 years, and then diagonally somehow. Even the time just moves back and forth. Diagonally, and then straight upward and to the left.
Hey, we're here for it, man.
And it's
If I'm not doing a good job with the whole linear process, let me know. But I think people can. I mean,
You know what?
I think it's been pretty easy to follow, at least in my mind. But
we'll find out.
Yeah,
One
yeah.
day. We probably won't, but we'll find out.
we'll ask
so-
Bethany. She'll just yell at us.
No, you're doing good.
We're not in trouble. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, God. Okay. Starting to sweat.
Yeah. So the retreat and meeting Victoria. That's a beautiful story. I want you to touch on that.
So I had decided, because I made my decision. I was like, I am gonna follow God and be a priest. And I can't. It was Father Ken or Father Joe. And I was like, I'm gonna be a priest. And they're like, okay.
Which is, by the way, wild. Like everything you just shared, and then you're like, I'm gonna become a priest.
Yeah.
Like even
so
that desire
I just started
is so
going
wild.
to youth group.
Yeah.
And then like I would just have these times in adoration where maybe I didn't have like a very real or deep faith, but in my mind and my heart and my soul, like there was a fire that had started when I started going back to youth group. And it was very real. And like in my mind, it was like this blazing bonfire that was like praising the glory of God in this magnificent way. But it was really just like a little birthday candle. And like that was spectacular to me though, because like a birthday candle in a pitch black room is still enough to illuminate the surroundings. And like seeing those surroundings, like seeing the surroundings that is the glory of God, is like absurdly spectacular, even if you just see the smallest glimpse.
Wow.
And that's what that was. Like I had this birthday candle lit. I was like, holy cow.
Yeah, it's alive.
This is alive. And I was like, you know what? I am dedicating the rest of my life to this. And I was like, I'm going to be a priest and I'm going to enter seminary and it's going to be amazing. And so I just need to like go through these final discernment processes. I need to apply to seminary.
Yeah.
And I was talking to, I think it was Father Ken. I can't remember.
Father Ken Marlovitz?
Yeah, Father Ken Marlovitz.
Good
Yeah.
man.
One of the best priests in the history of ever. Scary guy. Respectfully.
Super scary.
Respectfully.
Like, not scary. He's kind of just like...
No, but because he was a wrestling coach and he's very good at wrestling still, which I know because I have wrestled him and lost many times. I would try to take him down and then he would like absolutely cook me.
Yeah. But
Which is,
anyway, the retreat.
Humility.
Yeah.
Anyways, so I had this big glorious plan to like be a priest because I was just starting to like see what it was to experience the faithfulness of God. And I was like, oh my gosh, like if I can light this fire for someone else, I was like, that is my whole world. That is my whole life. And I'm happy to commit to it. And so I was going into this retreat and I was just like, I was interacting with everyone like, hey, this is how I'm going to be treating the people that I am serving as their priest one day, because in my mind, there was no question to what I was going to be doing next. And so I go through, I think it was like 5 days of the retreat and it was great. And I was like, I'm going to love being a priest. This is awesome. And it was just like really sound discernment, that I was like, yeah, this is the right thing to do. And then we had our free day after all the days of service in the community of Louisville, Kentucky. And Louisville. Yeah. They said it sounds like you're swallowing the word. And that doesn't help you pronounce it. But that's what everyone says, dude.
Yeah.
So, Louisville. Anyways, I digress.
You were talking about
this
magnificent plan to become a priest that God
a wonderful
obviously
plan.
interjected with.
That I sincerely believe God put that plan on my heart. He was like, hey, you should think about being a priest. And so I'm on this free day, and my good pal Connor McChesney was like, hey, you should walk with my group when we're in this theme park of Kentucky Kingdom. And I was like, yeah, sure, that sounds great. And Victoria was in this group, and I had not met her yet. And I met her, and as soon as I met her, I was like, oh shit. Oh, I'm not going to be a priest. I was like, oh my gosh. And like in my mind, I was just like, yeah, no. I am spending the rest of my life trying to pursue this woman that I have no business pursuing. I had no business. I have no business being married to her right now. Yeah, it's absurd that she even tolerates a conversation with me, much less is the mother of our daughter. Is just the most wonderful person. So I met her, and like there's just this burning image in my mind of like her approaching me in a wedding dress. And I was like, oh, okay, huh? Oh, I'm not gonna be a priest, am I? And so like there was like this immediate infatuation with like the idea of her, and like I was just obsessed with her. But I wasn't gonna be weird because I was like, listen, I have game. I have game.
I have game.
I have game. So I pushed her down a water slide.
If that's something, that's just you, man. That's like you to a T.
Yeah.
I've never heard that one before.
Yeah. Well, now you have. So funny thing about this water slide is, I think it's the third tallest in the U.S.
Oh.
And you climb up like 15 flights of stairs, and young Leo, 17-year-old Leo, was like, you know how to get a girl's attention? Just kind of be a dick. That's not how to do it. It's not. So I was like, hey, we're gonna go down this water slide. You should go with us. She was like, no. And I was like, you should do it. She goes, okay. I was like, shake on it. She shook my hand and she told me, she was like, I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna shake his hand and then leave it at that and then not go. So me and my unbelievable game, my capability with women. I took her hand and I dragged her up 15 flights of stairs.
Oh, dang.
And I pushed her into the box. Like it shuts the door on you, and you're standing on a platform.
Oh, my God.
You're sitting on this little platform. Mm-hmm. I was like, this will get her attention. This will do it. And she's in the box, and she was like, I'm not doing this. I don't want to do this.
And you're just out there
And
like...
I'm just like, this is great. I'm going to make this work.
Oh, my gosh.
You know, everything that I had done that was so intentional to lead me to like being a priest. I was just like trying to be very collected, trying to be very peaceful, trying to be very holy. And then I was like, there's a girl. I'm gonna impress her. There was nothing impressive about it. And then she drops down the water slide. And I just remember like I watched her drop and I was like, shit. This was a bad idea.
Immediate regret.
That wasn't the right way to go about this. It wasn't.
Well, obviously it was.
Well,
if you think
know
about
it. Really wasn't. I promise it was not.
Don't try this at home, kid.
I'm a professional. I'm not. Once again, no business sharing my life with this wonderful woman. And so I got on the water slide after. I'm deeply afraid of heights. I didn't want to be there. I just wanted to impress her. Wasn't going well. In my mind, it was until she fell down the water slide. And I was like, oh, that was a bad idea. So then I go down the water slide, and she's at the bottom, and she's pissed. Rightfully so. It makes sense. I would be too. Mm-hmm. And I was like, hey, that was a really bad idea. I'm so sorry. I don't know what got into me. Can I buy you lunch? She was like, oh, okay. All right.
Oh, that's fine. Dude, that's smooth, though. That was smooth.
No, so I just bought her a burger and fries, and it was the worst freaking burger.
Oh.
It was so bad, but she was so happy because I bought her a burger and fries, and it was a very nice moment. And like the rest of the day, we were just like generally around each other. Mm-hmm. Like we weren't really interacting a ton. I was just kind of deeply embarrassed by everything I was as a man at that point. And she was just like, "This guy's an idiot. Like, why is he still here?" I think I can't actually confirm that.
I doubt that's what she was thinking.
Well, that's what I would
maybe
think.
We'll ask her.
And like the end of the day, we leave the park and then we go back to the chapel that's in the building that we're staying at. Mm-hmm. And like we're just talking through our experiences on the week. And after this whole session, everyone like debriefs how they felt about the week. I saw her sitting in the back of the chapel. And you know how like when someone's praying in the back of a chapel, it's like, just leave them alone. Let them pray. So I had this great idea. I was like, I'm going to go talk to her. And so I did. And I walked up to her and I was like, hey, how you doing? Like, what's going on? You seemed a little bit upset. So then she starts telling me about this guy she's dating.
Oh.
And I'm like, oh no.
Plans ruined.
Well, now I don't have a vocation because my vocation was priesthood. Then my vocation was you. And now my vocation is sadness. And that happened in a 4-hour span. So, you know, it was a crazy day. And so we're talking. And she's pouring out her heart about like this guy that she's like not really even dating, but I love to make fun of her. I was like, yeah, like this guy you were dating, because I have never like been in a relationship with anyone other than Victoria. I've never like really had any kind of interaction like this with anyone else.
Wow.
So I just hold it over her head, and she's like, "You're such a jerk." I'm like, I know.
I know. Thank you.
I never did go on a date with anyone else on purpose, which I have accidentally gone on dates. That's a whole different story.
Yeah, we won't get into that.
Yeah, we'll never get into that. but she was like pouring her heart out. And I was like, you know what? Like, maybe this isn't my vocation. Maybe she's realizing that she is too good for me in every way. And that's okay. And I have to find peace with that because I can't make her love me the way that like I know I love her so much right now. So she's telling me all this, and she's like, I just do not know what to do in this. And I was just giving her the best advice I could. And I was like, you just have to be like so true to yourself. And like, if this really fulfills you, and if this is something that you're seeing being like good and holy, like you have to pursue that. Mm-hmm. And internally, I'm screaming. I was like, no! I was like, bitch, why him when I'm here? I'm sure he's better than me, but still. And like, I got home from the mission trip, and I was just in this like deep depression because every plan I had that was like illuminated by this candle of God's light had collapsed as quickly as like it had ignited. Mm-hmm. And so I'm reevaluating everything for maybe the 20th time in the past week and a half span. And then there's just this youth group event. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna shoot my shot again because if
Why
nothing
not?
else, I'm persistent.
Yeah.
So I texted her and I was like, hey, you should show up to this youth group event. She's like, I can't.
Oh.
And I was like, okay. And then that happened again. I was like, hey, you should show up to this youth group event. She's like, I can't. I was like, okay. And this kept happening. And I was like, hey, you should show up to
You just kept texting her,
one of
man?
my football games. And she was
Wow.
like, I can't.
Wow.
I was like, okay. Until eventually, she got her driver's license. Didn't realize that's why she wasn't showing up. I just thought she hated me, which would make sense. I pushed her down a very large water slide. And she showed up. And I was just like, oh my gosh, she's actually here.
Wow, what do I do?
Oh my gosh. Hi. Really smooth, real smooth. Like I was like, hi. And like we just ended up talking outside on a bench the whole time. And when we were talking, I learned that she was no longer talking to this other guy. And I was like, oh my gosh.
Nice.
This is amazing. I was like, maybe this is nothing, but I'm pretty sure I'm winning this game that we're not actually playing. And so like I was just like obsessed with her.
Mm-hmm.
I still am obsessed with her in every way. She is perfect. Mm-hmm. She is very mean to me sometimes, but she is perfect.
Oh, come on, man.
She's Italian. It's obligated.
Yeah, that's true.
No, she's very intense.
Yeah,
She's very intense. It's wonderful. I need her. I can't do anything without her. Mm-hmm. I just had to ask her when the baptism of her daughter was going to be.
Yeah.
Bad luck. It's very important to me to be there. That's why I had to ask.
You have to be there, actually.
I have to be there, as a matter of fact. As do you nerd.
Yeah, I do. That's right.
Yeah, but I thought I was winning this game that was like pursuing Victoria. And so like I'm just going through all this time where I'm like, I wonder if she likes me. I hope she likes me. So I'm talking to all of our mutual friends, and I was like, how's Victoria doing? I asked this very subtly. How's Victoria? And they're like, oh, she's good. Are you going to ask her out? And I was like, what? No. Why would I do that? Why would I do that? And then eventually I grabbed dinner with my grandmother because when in doubt, I asked my grandma for advice because she is wonderful. Mm-hmm. She is one of the most amazing people that will ever live. And I was like breaking down the whole situation. I was like, Grandma, like I don't know what to do. There's this girl. She is wonderful. I was kind of a jerk, and I have not really done anything to like warrant having a conversation with her. And she was like, Leo, you're being so stupid. She's been waiting for you to ask her out. And I was like, what? No. What? And so like the next day was my 18th birthday.
Yeah.
And like my parents had this very strict rule that was just deeply ingrained in me. It was like, you can't date until you're 18. Mm-hmm. You can't talk to anyone like in a romantic sense until you are 18. Mm-hmm. So it was my 18th birthday and I was like, I just got the green light from my grandma. She knows everything.
Yeah.
No, she has experience. I never will. And so I sent her a text. I was like, hey, you want to go see a movie? And like we were interacting over Instagram DMs because that was the only way we could text. So I see that she has read this, and then she doesn't respond.
Oh.
So like I look at my phone, I see that she read it. It doesn't even have the bubbles pop up.
Yeah.
To say she's responding. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, now I'm embarrassed.
Back to plan A.
Yeah. No, it was back to Plan Z, which was be a hermit, but not like a Catholic hermit. Just like live in a tent somewhere far away from everywhere else because I was embarrassed.
Yeah.
It's a very high school train of thought.
Yes.
I was rejected. I must hide forever. And so like she doesn't respond. And I was like, okay. So I just took my phone and I just like chucked it across the room. And I was like, I give up. Everything's meaningless. Whatever. So I just like was going about my day. And then I like picked up my phone later because, I was like near tears because I was like, well, everything's meaningless. I don't know what to do. And she was like, I would love to. And I was like, oh,
we're back.
Oh. And so we went on like our first date. We went to the movies. We were planning on seeing the Grinch movie. We didn't see the Grinch movie. I think we saw one of the Harry Potter, the Fantastic Beasts movie. Mm-hmm. She never saw a single Harry Potter movie. She never read a single book. We just wanted to be interacting, which was wonderful. So like I met her, I picked her up at her family's house.
Yeah.
So like I show up at her family's house and I walk in the door and they're just like, hi, how are you? It was like, I'm just like this like tall, weird, long-haired, hippie-looking kid that their daughter's about to go on a date with. And then like, you have no business talking to our daughter. But they were so nice. Mm-hmm. It was like, they were just
They're
amazing.
a very
They
nice
were
family.
so welcoming.
Yeah, very welcoming family.
And so Victoria was like, hey, how you doing? Then she walked upstairs for like an hour. So I was just sitting on her family's couch like, hi.
Oh, man.
How's it going? And then like we went through the first date. We saw the movie. We went back, and then we just kept like having these little simple dates where like we would just like go bowling, or we would just like sit at North Park on one of the piers and just like talk, or just like hold hands or something, which was very intense. Very intense to interact with a woman. I held her hand. It was amazing. And like this was going on we were dating for 5 years, and until I finally had the balls to ask her to marry me. And it was wonderful. I mean, everything in that phase between was like, there was a lot of growth involved with it. Mm. But, like it all seems so silly now because like the growth that needed to happen before I could ask her happened in the time we were dating, which is like what that is for.
Wow. Yeah.
Because like I was still a kid that was dealing with damage from my childhood. Like I was having these like absurd mental breakdowns where I had no concept of who I was or where I was.
While you were dating her?
While we were dating. Mm. And like she had to deal with a lot of that. Mm. And there was times that she absolutely should have just left me. Like I don't deserve her. I never will. I never did. But she always just stood by me. And there was a time where I was like, no, I am too broken. Mm. Like I cannot be someone that deserves to be your husband. And I was like, Victoria, like I cannot stay with you. I'm sorry. Like I love you very much. I want what is best for you, and that is not me. And she goes, no.
Sorry, buddy.
And I was like, what? Mm. I was like, no, but like I'm just too far gone. Like I have nothing to offer. She's like, no, but you do. And she gave me like an opportunity to prove that I do have something to offer, but not through what I can do, but like from where I can be. So that where I can be is just like I can be her husband whenever she's having a really tough day. And I fail sometimes. I fail actually most of the times, I'd say. I fail quite often as a husband where I'm not enough. I don't do the right thing. I don't say the right thing. But there's also just like every now and again, all I can do is just be there. She's having a really hard day, and I'm like, hey, I love you. I'm going to hold the baby, get 2 hours of sleep.
Mm.
And that is the best thing I can ever and will ever do. Yeah. Oh, I lost my train of thought.
No, but that's beautiful, man. Like, and I think getting to like the call of a husband, obviously, like what?
Have a sip.
Oh,
Yeah, I saw you drain yours, brother.
no, you want me to drink the rest of that one?
Yeah.
Why?
I don't really want it. I also have like 14 more at home.
Okay, well.
Yeah.
Jeez, man, this is like barely had any. Cheers.
Also, I am going to have some whiskey, so.
Well, before we get into the next, why don't you bring that down for me? If you don't mind.
It would be an honor and a privilege. Where'd you get this decanter?
My parents actually got it for me because I was trying to take one for my dad when I was back at home. I was like, "Hey, Dad, this has been sitting on the shelf for 10 years. It's dusty. Let me have it." He's like, my dad's a very nostalgic person. He's very like, I like my things and I like them how they are and I don't want anyone to touch them. Like he has this secret top drawer full of like random mementos and it's like, never go in the top drawer ever.
Oh, okay.
And I'm like, I always went in the top drawer
Yeah,
to like
yeah,
find a
absolutely.
lighter or something. But I was like, Dad, come on, you just let me use it, be cool. It's Grandpa's old thing, and my grandpa passed away probably like 10 years ago. And my dad was just like, Max, you can have a bunch of venison meat, you can have all these things, you can't have the thing, like the decanter. And I'm like, damn it. So my mom was like, listen, this will be our donation to your podcast. We'll give you a nice decanter set. I'm like, all right,
That's beautiful.
That's acceptable. Yeah.
These terms and conditions
Yeah.
are acceptable.
Yeah, terms and conditions, disclosures, if you will.
Indeed.
Kind of. All right. Well, you've had this before. It's the Maker's Mark.
Oh, yeah, no, this stuff's fantastic. That's I've been waiting for this
Yeah.
since the last time I had it. I also didn't think I would ever get to taste it again.
Yeah, we're gonna have to refill here pretty soon. Cheers, buddy.
Cheers.
Scrumptious.
It is the best whiskey.
It's so good, man. Yeah. Shout out to Charlie Burns again. It's so good.
I don't know him, but I love him so much.
Yeah, he's the guy who always gives me nice whiskey. and I
Oh,
bring
yeah,
back
no,
to you
I
guys.
know of him.
Yeah.
Never met him,
He's kind of a legend.
but he's he's my celebrity crush.
I'm gonna send this to him. And he's gonna be like, oh, jeez. But yeah,
He's a celebrity in my eyes.
yeah, no, he is. He's a great man. But yeah, I kind of wanted to get into how do you think your life has been impacted since like fatherhood? I mean, it's only been 2 weeks, but like, I mean, I've just seen such a change personally. As you're one of your good friends, I've seen such a change in you. Just like something profound that you said to me was, I was over and you were holding your baby girl, Fia, and you were just holding her and looking into her eyes. And you were like, yeah, all I do is just stay up all night and let Victoria sleep and watch the baby and watch ESPN.
Yeah, no, I've been
But-
watching a lot of basketball.
Yeah, but that was such a profound moment for me to hear because I was just kind of enamored by the beauty of that vocation, the beauty of what you were doing, and just knowing your story. I was kind of perplexed. I was like, wow, like this man really, like you guys created this beautiful baby girl. She is absolutely adorable. She's not an ugly baby.
No, it's
At
great.
all.
I was
I would
so
have
ready for
told
an
you if
ugly
she was an
baby.
ugly. I would have been like, "Hey, Leo, she's not really cute yet.
She's not cute yet.
but
Like,
she is
one day.
absolutely adorable.
She's perfect.
All this,
She's
straight
perfect.
Italian, yeah,
Yeah, I know. That was actually that's a tough one to swallow.
Yeah.
She's more Irish than she is Italian.
I know, but she looks so Italian. Yeah,
She's just an Italian child.
Yeah.
Like, she has olive skin.
Yeah, I
was
know.
like, you've never even seen the sun child.
and you and Victoria are not super.
No,
olive
she's
skin.
so pasty.
Yeah, she is.
Victoria-
yeah. Oh, dang.
She's so pale. She gets that from her father. It's like
Yeah.
they're very pale.
yeah.
But this child looks so
Olive
Italian.
skin, yeah.
It's so funny.
Yeah, but I just am so honored that like to be part of that girl's life, but just to see the transformation in you, like as a father, it was just beautiful, man. And yeah, just getting your perspective on that, maybe a little bit of how your life has been so different, obviously in the human ways, but even the spiritual ways.
Oh my gosh, it's this has been the best spiritual gift I could ever ask for. You know, you can have these beautifully profound moments of prayer. You can witness miracles happen. But there's nothing more miraculous than it's 4 a.m. and I'm like fighting for my life to stay awake. Then this child looks me in the eyes and craps her pants.
Looks you in the eyes.
I'm not kidding. She makes eye contact when she poops. And it's my favorite thing on earth because it's hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
It's so funny. So she'll look me in the eyes. She'll take a crap, and I'm like, all right, I got to get over myself. And it's just, you just have to like.
Proud dad moment right there, man.
It really is. You know, I do. What's the least weird way to say this? I strive for the courage to look someone in the eyes as I poop one day. There's not a better way to say it.
I was interested how you were gonna phrase that.
No, I just went like, she's showing me coururage I didn't know existed. No, but like, sincerely, it's so amazing. Because I'm gonna fail as a father.
Mm-hmm.
I am not ever gonna be a perfect dad. I'm never gonna be a perfect husband. But all I can do is try to replicate the faithfulness God has shown me. It's like whenever everything is falling apart, like whenever she is hungry, all I can do is bring her to mom.
Mm-hmm.
But that's like the same thing that has been done for me. Like in the faithfulness of God, whenever things are falling apart, whenever like things really aren't going well, or I've really just shot myself in the foot, like, God is present in that. And like, maybe he's not like, oh, all better.
Mm-hmm.
No, but he does bring like a channel. And at a time that was my old friend Cullen Barnes. Like he was that journey to mom.
Mm.
He was that step in the right direction.
Mm.
And then that happened again. Like I was the baby that had just crapped my pants. And then I like went on this mission trip to like finally discern my entire future, which did end up happening, but not in the way that I thought it was going to happen. And it's like that is like holding a baby as you're like rocking them to sleep because they're just absolutely miserable. It's like there's these little moments when like I get to be a dad now, and that's the most beautiful thing, most worthwhile thing I will ever do. And it's just these little moments where I can hold the baby whenever she's very upset. Like I can rock her to sleep if she needs rocked to sleep. I can change her diaper because, she made a mess.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, yeah, this is like how God views us. We are a newborn. Like everything we're doing is so newborn-esque. It's like we're making these very silly decisions all the time. Like as humans, we're making really poor decisions. But, like as the father, as Fia's father, and as God the Father does, it's like I can give you a path into making what's right out of this. I can change her diaper. I can bring her to mom. Sometimes I cannot do everything, and that's really hard to accept.
Yeah.
But I can be the first stepping stone, and I can set a path for what's right for this kid.
Mm-hmm.
So it's actually a really amazing perspective on my relationship with like God the Father. Because like I've had a lot of times I'm like, hey God, why aren't you fixing everything? And he's like, why aren't you fixing everything? I was like, you're not even trying. So it's like, you're right. You're right, I'm not.
Yeah.
I just want to get rid of those problems. But like giving someone else an opportunity to fix their own problems is something that I'm going to have to learn to do one day as a father. And that's really hard because like whenever I'm holding her, I'm like, I will do anything for you forever. If someone wrongs you, I will do whatever it takes to make it right. Everything that happens, I will protect you from. And that's not the case. Because I love her, because I want what's best for her, she's going to have days that I'm not going to do what she wants me to.
Yeah.
As God the Father is like, hey, that's not what's best for you. You think that's what's best for you. It's not. Don't put that fork in the outlet.
Mm.
I usually do. I usually put the metaphorical fork in the outlet. But like God the Father is there to make sure that that path is avoided when it can be.
That's beautiful. Well said, man. That's beautifully said. Yeah. And I definitely think that I talked about this with Josh came on last week, but I talked about that with him about, God the Father, especially we're talking about God the Father's love, but there's always an action that's, necessitated in our will to choose God the Father's love for our life. Like that candle is always burning. That was a beautiful imagery that you used of that little candle that illuminated such a pitch black room. And even that little light can illuminate things. But I think that's so beautiful because that candle really never goes out, but we can choose to try to smolder it, or we can choose to try to let it grow, let it illumine the room even more, allow God to light more candles from that singular flame. And yeah, that's just such a beautiful testament to your life, man. Because I look at you and I look at everything that you've been through, and that's why I brought you on. Because I'm like, just so much faithfulness that God has brought into your life, and through Victoria, through your daughter, through you choosing the right action, And even if you choose, we choose the wrong action all the time. I mean,
it's unfortunately one of my best qualities is choosing the wrong thing.
But God is always there, like Leo, Max, whoever. Are you gonna let me light that candle again? Are you gonna see that candle? Are you gonna allow me to illumine the dark parts of your heart? But it takes an action, It takes the action of your will for God to be let in,
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah. No, it was the candle is still like, it might not be a birthday candle that I've got in my life now, but I've got a nice Yankee candle in the middle of the room.
What scent?
Ooh,
Whiskey?
It's one of those like whiskey bonfire ones. It's everything I need.
Yeah.
It's everything I need. It's the faith, like the most consistent analogy, like for the Holy Spirit, for faith, for everything is through fire. Because it is that light, like that's gonna guide you, and like it does burn so brightly where like people will follow the light. And it's like we're all really just moths, just like looking for that light of God. And there's all these falsities that are like the bug zapper. Like,
Don't go to the bug zapper.
Don't go to the bug zapper. It hurts.
The bug zapper, man. How long have we been going, Beth?
Hour and a half.
Hour and a half? Cool.
That is more than an hour and 29 minutes.
Yes, it is. It is. But yeah, just thank you so much for coming on, man.
Thank you for having me,
It's been such a pleasure, man. And yeah, I learned so much more just hearing you talk and hearing you share. And from the bottom of my heart, bro, it's been an honor to know you these last couple of years.
It's an honor to have you as my friend, as someone I consider a brother.
Yeah.
And I could not be prouder to say you'll be the godfather of my daughter.
Yeah, man. Sometimes I'm like, man, is he did the right decision, man? Is he okay in the brain?
So we both know the answer to that.
Yeah. Well, that concerns me.
I am not well in the brain.
Oh, man.
You know what was great about that?
What?
Victoria's like, yeah, that's the right decision. And I was like,
yes.
Even a blind squirrel finds a nut once in a while.
Amen to that. Yeah, well, thanks for coming on, man. And yeah, hope to have you on again soon. But that's a wrap for episode 3. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. We'll see you next week.
Yeah.
Peace.
Thanks for having me, brother.
Yeah. I might wear a hat. Bethany, how's my hair look?
So think of all the worst parts of Joe Burrow.
But you're fine. I mean, you can just go all around, I'm a snake.
I'm a slither little snake.
I'm a slither in your garden. It cuts me in your mouth.